Good day and welcome to this edition of Talking Books with me, David Radimer. If you speak to any entrepreneur, they will tell you their true journey is never as easy as it appears. It's a long and somewhat tedious or time-consuming process, but reaching success is always rewarding. There are plenty of tips and advices that can help entrepreneurs start, but it's difficult to find the right kind of advice. Daniel Strauss, author of The Billionaire Mindset, joins me today about his new book, The Billionaire Career, which gives entrepreneurs useful and practical advice in a somewhat different manner. Good day, Daniel. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much.
On that note, though, what's writing style that you use in this particular book?
So in my first book, I really got great feedback because I used stories to convey very difficult business and investment concepts. And then I thought, how can I make this more accessible to even more people? So I decided to write it in a story form or in a narrative form with a main character that goes through certain ups and downs through the journey of entrepreneurship.
Throughout your book, especially early in your book, you spoke about two different specific business profiles, the foundation and the dynamics. Do you see entrepreneurs in the same manner, and how would an entrepreneur go about knowing where in the spectrum do they fall under?
So the foundation and dynamic business profiles relate to what gives you energy in business and what drains your energy in business. I'm sure that certain things in your current job also gives you energy, while other things might drain your energy, and that's really what these business profiles are all about. And then we say that as soon as you start focusing on your business profile and the things that give you energy, then you start to attract the people and the resources that you need. And once you start doing that, then you might also start to experience what we call critical moments. You know, those moments in your life when you get that opportunity, it takes you a leap forward and not just a step or two forward.
Like what?
So let's say you have built your business, you really start focusing on something, you started to attract the people and the resources that you need, so the great team members and also resources in terms of capital or machinery or different things, then you might get that big customer that would not have looked at you otherwise if you did not have all of those things in place. And they can see that you're really, some people call it passion, other people call it believing in what you're doing, but then really those things that give you energy, and people can see, you know what, okay, this person is really going to serve me well. They're going to solve a real problem for a real person in the real world very well because they really believe in what they're doing.
An entrepreneur that's not business orientated, how would they be able to use the tips and advice in your book to, well, become more business orientated? Do they need that additional help from someone?
So in my experience, I see people, so the main character is called Dan in the book, as you know. Thank you for reading the book. And what happens then is they go through these ups and downs and they get advice from different people, but sometimes the advice is not applicable to them. They might get bad advice from some mentors while they get great advice from other mentors. And then as soon as they get the advice and they take action based on the good advice that is applicable to them on their level of wealth creation in line with their business profile, then suddenly things start to go better in their lives.
Speaking on mentorship, because it's a very dominant theme in your book, as in only the first four chapters, the character has got three different mentors, the academic. How do you distinguish the different advice from these different mentors to be more suitable to what you would like to do? And how can an entrepreneur go about finding the right mentor?
It's very important to be able to discern between advice that will take you forward or advice that is not applicable to you at the moment. And that's really what I try to do in the book, where the entrepreneur becomes much more self-aware through certain things that they start to understand about themselves. And what happens then is that some mentors would give him advice and he would say like, Oh, I don't fully agree with this. Just to let people know that not all advice is always good. So that's the first thing, to make it as practical as possible. And then the next thing is, I normally say when people want to get mentors, they should probably get a mentor who has the same type of business profile as them. So people who get energy from the same things as them and things that train them as well. Then don't go looking for the person who is the best in the industry. Find someone who's 3 or 4 steps ahead of you, because that person might already have forgotten what you need to know now, which is the next step for you. Then get clarity about your own definition of success, because the world's definition of success is not necessarily yours. And don't succumb to the world's definition of success. Get clarity on your own definition of success on your terms, and then get a clear goal and milestones to reach that. And if you can find a mentor that has already reached certain of your milestones, then the probability is much higher that they will give you much better advice than someone who's never done it before.
Now you're using the mentors in the book to leave little nuggets and advice like the U-shaped graph, and then there's something specific I want to quote from your book. The number 1 rule of running a business, in fact, never stand personal surety for a new business. Are these the kind of advice and nuggets that we can expect throughout the book?
So there must be given some context to that, because obviously it is part of a bigger conversation. And what happens there is essentially the mentor is explaining to the main character that there are extremes in terms of risk and control in business. And essentially working for someone else for a salary is on the one end of the spectrum, which is also very risky, and not everybody might feel or see it that way, but there's a big explanation around that. And the other end of the spectrum is what we call self-funded entrepreneurs who stand surety for everything themselves. And then there's a spectrum in the middle where there might be less control but also less risk, or more control, less risk. And you have to understand that to really get clarity of your best next step. Because what do we want to do? We want to get to a place where we can reach our maximum potential with the minimum risk.
And that's, like I said, those are the kind of nuggets and advice that you lay out throughout the book. Anything else that we can look forward to in the book that entrepreneurs can say, you know what, there's an aha moment in here?
So a lot of people raise funding in a South African context, and we see many pitches. And what we find is that a lot of entrepreneurs don't really understand how to pitch. They tend to pitch products and not the investment product, which is the share or the preference share in your business. You don't have to pitch necessarily how good your product is. It's part of the pitch, but ultimately you need to explain to the investor why this financial product that they're buying, which is a representation of everything that goes on in your business, will increase in value. And there's a whole journey that this poor main character goes through. He'll probably wring my neck if he walks in here now, where he goes through this process of pitching, and then he needs to pitch again. And every time his mentors would teach him something. And then to understand that when you get an equity investor in your business, you need an entirely new skill set. It is a different skill set than what you need if you are an employee or if you are a self-funded entrepreneur. And that whole journey and the new skill set is essentially described in quite a lot of detail through this guy's story.
Daniel, thank you so much for coming on and explaining this new book of yours. Really looking forward to finishing this. And that is Daniel Strauss, author of Billionaire Career. And that's it for today's Talking Books. Until next time, goodbye.